last we encountered that made you smile?
My husband kissed me before he left for work this morning.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for
I
sharing.
am making cupcakes with it. And that's because I am sending my girl some cupcakes in the jar.
I'm going to take another bite. I'm sorry.
I like to say powder gives it the power.
You shouldn't have given me my favorite one.
Now, if you want, you can put this on your mixer, but me, I like to beat it. Beat it. I gotta stop. I gotta keep this girl's figure. But listen,
53% of teen moms do not graduate from high school compared to 90% of young ladies who do. Less than 3% earn a college degree by the age of 30. You have three. How were you able to beat the odds?
I ended up in a situation of being pregnant at a young age because my mom and my stepdad at the time ended up on drugs. Honestly, I believe everything that happened was to create the woman that I am today. Don't let the shame of your mistakes block you from your blessings.
And now it's game on.
Hi, sweet lifers! Welcome back to another episode of Sweet Life with Nikki, where we celebrate stories of strength, resilience, and purpose. Today's guest is incredibly special to me, and not just because of who she is now, but because of who she has always been. I'm talking about my soror, my chapter soror, my good friend here, Judge Shequitta Kelly. I had the honor of being her big sister. And when she plays Delta Sigma Theta, and she plays with her baby girl in tow. So we're going to talk about being a teen mom and how she was able to beat the odds. But let me just tell you, she went from being a teen mom to being the judge of the criminal court number 11 in Dallas County. She is a nationally renowned speaker, founder of multiple programs for at-risk youth. And she also wrote a book, a children's book. Yes, so we have to support her book as well, everybody. And she is the living definition of beating the odds and the definition of grace, grit, and glory. Please welcome my sorority sister, Shequitta.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. I'm so excited to do this interview, and I'm so honored that you chose me to be on here. So
Oh,
honored. Thank you.
yes. Listen, I remember the days of when you played. I just remember how you were so dedicated. You meet these people in life and you can just see that inner resilience, that fortitude, as we like to say. And you can just see that in people sometimes, even from an early age. And I could definitely see that in you, and not surprised of all the amazing things you've been able to accomplish. So, my first question, because I got to get the hard questions out, is I want you to tell us how old you were when you were a teen mom. But before that, I just want to say that being a teen mom, you know the statistics, right? That 53% of teen moms do not graduate from high school compared to 90% of young ladies who do. And also, less than 3% earn a college degree by the age of 30. You have three. So tell us, at what point did you become a mom, and how were you able to beat the odds? We really want to know, how were you able to do that as a teen mom? Because you truly did.
Whew. I became pregnant at 15. Mind you, I did not even start my cycle until I was 14. So things happened really fast for me. And I was raised Pentecostal. So wrong on so many levels, and very disappointing for my family. Very disappointing, because I was always the smart child, smart grandchild, smart cousin. And to know that Shequitta got pregnant at 15 was very disappointing for everybody, including myself. And I think I struggled for a very long time with shame. And that shame, it hid all of my possibilities and all of my potential. And I remember when I was pregnant, that shame was heightened by people telling me mean things and saying mean things. Oh, now your life is over. You're never going to be that lawyer. Oh, well, you're out there being fast. So now you better grow up. You're going to have to grow up. I remember just praying and thinking, my life is over. I'm not ready for a baby. I'm still a baby myself, and just feeling completely lost.
Mm.
And so when people ask me, how did you survive those odds? Like, how did you do that? I always say, I was willing to lose.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
I was willing to lose. And that meant trying something I had never tried before, which was going to college, applying to college, leaving my family, losing that safety net, and just stepping out there. When you believe in God, and I don't want to make this all spiritual, but when you believe in God, you can't also fear.
Mhm.
And so at some point, I was like, all right, God, take
Mhm.
me. Take me
Mhm.
where I need to be. Place me where I need to be. I ended up in the situation of being pregnant at a young age because my mom and my stepdad at the time ended up on drugs.
Mhm.
And so I had an environment where I didn't really have any parental supervision around.
Mhm.
I also had an environment where I was being abandoned for drugs. And so that led to me looking for love in all the wrong
Yeah.
places.
Mhm.
What I realized is that, honestly, I believe everything that happened at that moment, I couldn't see it then, was to create the woman that I am today.
That part. Yes.
Yeah, so that I could be something for someone else and I can bless someone else. But literally, the way that I survived the odds was being okay with doing things I didn't know how to do, being okay with losing and having to start over and go back home. Because I just felt like, well, what do I have to lose? I can always come back here.
Mhm.
So it was kind of like I mean, I was not afraid of just letting go.
That is so key. I love what you just said about not being afraid to lose. And that does struck a chord with me because I feel the same way. It's like if you don't try, you already failed. My mom used to
Mm.
say, nothing beats a failure but a try, right? And
Right.
so many people are afraid to try, afraid to lose. And so
Mhm.
you really hit on something there. That's so powerful. It's like we just have to be literally willing to lose.
Yes.
And losing is not always bad. Actually, losing is good because you learn something, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And everything that I left my family, I left my friends. I gained a lot of things by leaving that safety net that I would not have been able to gain. I was able to experience new things that I would not have ever been able to experience had I just stayed in that safety net. So leaving that, losing those connections, losing that safe place, losing the ability to run to my grandma's house at any moment
Mhm.
benefited me. It
Mhm.
grew me.
Yeah.
And every single day, I learned something new. I remember when I got it at you, when I first landed on campus, it was the biggest place ever for me. I'm a little small town girl, right? And it's like, wait, I got to learn how to catch this bus. And then I have my daughter. And so I got to learn how to get the city bus and find a daycare. It was just so much. And I was so naive. I
Mhm.
knew absolutely nothing. And people always look at me now, the people who don't know the Shequitta before the Judge Kelly, they think that I'm like the Huxtables. I'm Denise from the Huxtables. And I'm like, no, I was the complete opposite. I was the extreme
Mhm.
opposite of Denise from the Huxtables. I didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
But it's also proof that if I could do it as a teenage mom, my daughter was 2 years old when I went to college,
Yeah.
then you don't have an excuse. You can do it. You just got to get out your own way. And don't let the shame of your mistakes block
Mhm.
you from your blessings.
That part, the shame of your mistakes, because we all make mistakes, and I get it. And I grew up and I was one of those ones, super smart. People expected so much of you, and so much so that sometimes it really stressed me in college and things like I have to live up to these expectations and carrying that on into adulthood. So, at what point did you feel like, okay, I'm going to stand on my own. I'm going to not listen to the naysayers. How are you able to really do that? Because it's really hard for us as women to just kind of block out the naysayers and say, okay, you think I'm not going to do this, or you have these things to say about me, but I know who I am. So how did you come to
Yeah.
that point?
Well, honestly, let me first say that I didn't know who I was when I first stepped out, and when I first started to navigate life,
Thanks for being honest about that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally clueless, because I don't want someone who might be in a position right now in life trying to figure out things and feel guilty because they don't know who they are, and then they just. I didn't either. I did not have a clue. I didn't know the difference between a fraternity and a sorority. I didn't. So, I just want to say that, and I want people to feel comfortable in not knowing. And I think it was the not knowing that made people want to help me, that gravitated to me and wanted to pour. And that is where I started to get my confidence, because I realized when I met the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta and my sorors, I realized that they found me what I thought was a negative thing in me, what I thought was a scar, what I thought was a horrible decision. They found it as strength. My weaknesses, which I thought, oh, I'm a teenage mom, oh, I'm poor. They were like, and you still here at college?
Yes.
You still made this happen? And so it was probably my junior year, honestly, in college, when I started to feel confident and started to feel, you can do this, girl. You've done it. You're on your 30s, because I graduated college early. So not only did I go to school with a baby, I graduated early, and I pledged, and I had 2 jobs. And so I just realized, like, my junior year, I was just moving and moving and moving, and I'm preparing, trying to get to, prepare for my senior year for law school. And I was like, you did this. You did this. Like, you are on your way to law school, girl. And I still had a little bit of fear. And I still carry some of that shame, to be honest, because I'm still young. And now I've got, my daughter's asking me, Mommy, why are you so young? My friend said you're a young mom. And so
Like they like my mama could be your mama, your mama's mama.
yes. Yeah, so I still held a little bit of the shame. It did not really leave me until after becoming a lawyer. And I was able to sit at the table with people I once admired and wanted to be. And I realized that they were so imperfect and they all had stuff, right? And that shame was like, psh, it's gone. But as I was trying to get there, I had this idea in my head of what successful people look like, and what they're the smartest people, and they don't make mistakes, and they don't have issues, and their families are great, But it was in my junior year of college where, to get back to the question, it was my junior year in college where I started to feel like I had a grasp on things, and I started to feel more comfortable inside my skin, and that shame was not paralyzing me. It was still there, peeking its ugly head out, but it wasn't stopping me from navigating life and making decisions and speaking up for myself.
Honestly, it sounds like it never really did truly paralyze you. It might have slowed you down a bit, or it might have gave you a little bit of pause, but you kept moving. Because I remember when you pledged, and I was so impressed. I'm like, this chick has a kid and would bring the kid to everything, and I love that. And even now, no, seriously, I love that, and I remember that, because now, when I started my business and I was at home with the kids at the time, and my husband worked full time, I literally would take my kids with me to meetings with my lawyer, meetings with the accountant, and they would look like, is she really bringing her child with her? And I'm like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
And I will honestly say that moments like that, like watching you, gave me permission to show up with my kids unapologetically. Okay.
Great.
Yes. I love that you talked about the shame, because I think that's so important, because people don't always address that, or talk about that, right? It's like we gloss over it sometimes. But how do you, I guess, what would you say to someone who is feeling shameful about whatever it is that they have experienced in life? And what advice would you give to them to help them to overcome that shame?
Well, first, I would like them to take note and understand that they will not meet a single person in this world who hasn't done something, that isn't doing something, or hasn't had something done to them that is shameful. You
That
just
part.
won't. But secondly, more importantly, is to stop comparing yourself. Because when you stop comparing yourself, that shame is not there anymore. The shame comes from thinking that other people's lives are better. So you're comparing yourself.
Mhm.
And that was me. I was constantly comparing myself to all the other girls who didn't have kids and who, had better parents who weren't on drugs. And but there was something else going on, right? That I didn't know about. And as I matured and as I became more versed in life, I realized that every single person that I've come across, and maybe because my scar or my shame was a person, like I had a kid that I couldn't hide, right? And people, when they saw, like, wow, dang, she's been through some stuff, they would open up to me. And that's when I would realize, whoa, other people have stuff, right? And I don't need to be shameful because other people are telling me their stuff. So
That part.
yeah. And so my advice is, see, there's things most people can't, you don't see it. So they can hide it. And so you think that things are going so well in their life, but you don't realize that they were a victim of sexual assault and they're suffering from these internal demons that they're fighting every day. Or they have a kid who's cutting on themselves and they don't know how to, there's so much stuff. And so I would advise who's ever watching this that's dealing with shame to stop injuring yourself by comparing yourself to other people. You're hurting yourself. And there's enough people in this world that will try to hurt you. You don't need to be the one that does it to yourself.
That part right there. That is so true. That is so true. We have to love, we have to love ourselves because like you said, there's enough of that out there in the world. So you have to be able to protect that. One of the things that you said that really struck a chord with me is that people poured into you. So I love that now you are a children's author and you wrote this amazing book. And I see all the things you're doing out in the community and sharing it with young girls, which I think is great. So what made you decide to write a book for young girls specifically? Or children in general, but it's about a young girl.
Yes.
And what made you decide to write the story? And how do you think what effect do you think it's having on young girls like you when you were a young girl, right? Because I think about when I'm a young girl, what effect would it have had on me? And how would that message have resonated with me and helped me grow as a young girl?
So I've had several interviews and the question has always been, what made you want to be a judge, right? And I always say, I never, ever, ever considered being a judge. I never thought it was a possibility. I never saw a Black female judge. I never saw a Black judge. I never saw a Black lawyer. And as I answer this question repeatedly, I get it on all my interviews. Then they say, well, what made you want to become a judge if you didn't want to be one? I was pushed by an older man who came up to me one day and said, actually, I should say I was challenged. I just won this huge capital murder case. It was a very bad child murder case. And I won, and it was a difficult case. And so everyone was just like, wow, the media was there, things were high. And he came up to me and he said, great job. And I was like, yeah, thank you. And he said, but is this all you want? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you just want to be a prosecutor? Is that it? And I was like, at the height of my career, Nikki, I'm at the height of my career. And I said, yeah, like, I'm the bomb.com right now,
Exactly. Like, I just won this big case.
And he looked at me and he said, you should be a judge. And I was like, and he was like, I'm not laughing. He goes, the problem is you don't see yourself as great as I see you. And it sat on me. It sat on me forever. It still hits me in my chest like he was right. I thought I had limits on myself. And he didn't have any limits. He looked at me and said, wow, this girl can accomplish all kinds of things. She just doesn't see it. And it was that led me to run for judge. And while sitting on the bench and I kept getting these interviews and kept getting the same question, I realized that there's a whole bunch of little girls like me that have never seen it. And when I go out or I speak, before I was reading my book, before I even wrote my book, I would go and just for career day, get invited. And these little girls and boys would say, you're a real judge? And their eyes would get so lit up and they're just like fascinated that this is a real judge in their presence. And I wanted to be the one to change the narrative for both Black and our counterparts of what a judge looks like.
That part.
because
Yes.
in my mind and in most people's mind, it's an old white man.
Mm-hmm.
And that essentially subconsciously creates this image in children's minds and this limitation that they cannot be this person. So
Yes.
let me think of other things. And so I created the book with the sole purpose to educate about the criminal justice system, but also subconsciously show this beautiful little Black girl in power.
Mhm.
So that when
Yes. Okay, listen, so many nuggets here, so many nuggets. One, I want to touch on the fact that you, at the height of your career, super successful, like, listen, I'm the bomb.com, right? So very confident, but even still, not even truly seeing your fullest potential. So I think
still,
that's so key because sometimes, right, we are doing well, we're women, we're like amazing, but there is always more. And when
yes,
someone can see that in you, or you can see that in yourself. So I think that is so key. That was a great nugget. Like, just because you're doing something amazing doesn't mean that you can't do more,
and we
right?
have to remember, my God doesn't have a ceiling.
That part.
And we keep putting a ceiling, talking about we cracked the ceiling. There's no ceiling.
No, there's not.
We just don't ask. We don't ask and we don't think, like, we don't realize the magnificence and the things that we can get from our Father, but we don't. And I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah, and
So
I think that's just a testament that no matter where we are as women or just people in general, that even sometimes we have to be reminded of
yes,
our potential, right?
yes,
So you had to be reminded, girl, you're great and you can do
yeah,
even more. And so that is, I mean, it's so powerful because I think that sometimes we feel like, we've arrived or this and that,
mhm.
but there's still more.
There's so
So
much
I
more.
think that was really good. Another thing that I loved is which you pointed to is that it's not only important for our girls to see themselves in the books, but it's
Mm-hmm.
important for their counterparts. And my daughter, for her gold award for Girl Scouts, she did hashtag 1000 Black Girl Books, which Marley Diaz started. And so she was inspired by Marley Diaz and decided to do that here locally in our community. And I would say to people exactly what you said is that it's great for our girls to see themselves as the protagonist, the main character in a
Mm-hmm.
story, but it's even more important for people who are not of color to see people of color
Yes,
as the main character. So I
yes,
think that is so key because that breaks it, just shatters all of these, stereotypes and
yeah.
mental blocks that we have of what can be.
What I didn't expect, well, there was another part of me in a thought process when I wrote the book, and that was to educate the parents. There's nuggets in there that are also teaching the reader about the criminal justice system because we have a lot of people that don't understand and don't trust the criminal justice system. And so Jade the Judge is a 5-series book. Each series is going to educate the reader and the child about the criminal justice system, well, just the justice system. But what I didn't expect to happen was the outcome, the pouring out of love, the little girls all across this country that I don't even know who are
Yes.
getting in trouble because they can't wear their Jade the Judge t-shirt to school. They want to put it over their uniform. I have a 2-year-old who can't hardly speak, and she says, Jade the Judge. And she's walking around with it in her hand in the house. I get the outpouring of love that these kids have for Jade. And when I created her, I was a Ramona Quimbley fan. I mean, in Babysitter's Club, I was always a big reader in my entire
Yes.
life. I still am.
Me too.
And I found this place in my childhood. It took me back to the fondest memories of my childhood when I write. And I was hoping that I could create a love for reading like myself through Jade.
Yeah.
And they love her. I was really afraid. I mean, because kids, they don't play. Like if they think it's
They
stupid,
don't.
they
They
didn't
don't.
like, that's not, I don't like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. And so I went small. I went small when I ordered my first set. It was 300 books.
Mhm.
And God told me no, but I didn't listen.
Mhm.
And so I should have started off with 2,000. But I went small again, not realizing that there's no ceiling here. You need to trust and have
Come on. Girl, you just spoke into me because I was talking to my husband about order for my journals, and I had a number, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know, like maybe not that many." But listen, like you said, there is nothing too great
Yes.
for my God, right?
Yes.
He can
Yes.
do the greatest of the greatest of the greatest, right? So
Yes.
there's
And
nothing
it
too
also,
small, right? Nothing too
and
small, I should say, for my God. He can do it all. Nothing too
yes, and it shows your commitment to your faith that you're going to believe that he's going to handle it.
He's gonna handle it.
So, but every time I go to read to these girls and boys, they love it. And then I let them try on the robe. And to see these little girls look like, oh my God, I could be a judge. Look at her. They want to kiss me. They want to hug me. Can you come to my house? Like, and this is from pre-K. I read from pre-K up to 5th grade. And it has the same response no matter how old they are.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm really proud of her. Jade. Jade. She's my kid. So I'm really proud of Jade and how she's blessing the little kids' lives and how they love her. And she's like my little girl.
Oh, yay. Okay, listen, I know we're getting short on time. So I'm gonna go. All right, so I like to do, girl, this was such a good conversation. Girl, I feel like we can just talk for a long
I
time.
know.
So many great nuggets, honey. I hope people get these nuggets. Okay. So one of the things that I like to do is a rapid fire round. So we're going to do a rapid fire round where I'm going to ask you just 10 questions and you can give like 1-2 word answers, really short and sweet.
Okay.
So we're going to get started. All right. So sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Favorite quote or mantra?
People do what's important to them.
What's your flavor of life right now? Is it chocolate, caramel, lemon, strawberry? What's your flavor right now?
I'm feeling a little lemon.
Ooh, I like lemon. Okay. What's one thing people often get wrong about you?
My age.
Okay. Guilty pleasure song that you always love to sing.
Oh, I love music. This is a hard one. Okay, I'm gonna go with Nina Simone, Wild as the Wind.
Okay, I like it. All right. What's one non-negotiable in your self-care routine?
My face care, Korean skincare all the way, baby.
Korean skincare. Oh, listen, we got to talk offline. I need
Yes.
to know about this Korean skincare. Okay. All right, because you do look good, girl. You glowing already.
Thank you.
Okay. So one word to describe your journey so far.
Blessed.
All right, coffee, tea, or something stronger?
Tea.
Okay.
I don't drink either.
You don't drink tea, coffee, or
I just drink
something
water.
stronger? Okay, well, your girl just said water, fine. That's
Okay.
fine. Okay.
Water.
Water's good. Okay, water. Got it. Okay, last sweet encounter that made you smile.
And my husband kissed me before he left for work this morning.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so listen, everybody. Judge Kelly over there loved German chocolate cake. So I sent her a German chocolate cupcake in a jar. So now you have to try it so everybody can, we got to know if you like it or not. Now listen, I know I'm living up to some big shoes, okay? Because
No, I'm a German chocolate connoisseur now.
that's what I'm saying. I'm stepping into some big shoes. So I'm hoping I can live up to these big shoes, okay? But go ahead, you can try if you want to.
Okay.
And give us your honest opinion. It's okay. But yeah, my mom loved German chocolate cake.
God.
Yay, thank you. She loved German chocolate cake. And so when you said that was one of your faves, I knew it was something we had to make for the show.
It is delicious.
Yeah.
And the cake is not dried out, which is what people typically do with German chocolate cake.
Mm-hmm.
It's so moist. Listen, hold on, I'm gonna take one. See, you shouldn't have given me my favorite one. I'm glad this is the end because I'm going to take another bite. I'm sorry.
Girl, you take another bite, baby. Take another bite.
This
Listen,
is my favorite.
and while she's taking another bite, we are going to hear about her kitchen confessions, okay? Because we want to know, what is she confessing to us, you guys? We want to see.
Hey there, I'm in the kitchen, which means it's time for kitchen confessions, I suppose. And I'm going to give you two. I'm in the kitchen making ceviche today. And it reminded me of something I do and I've always done since I was a child. I do not like for my food to touch at all. Don't put the dressing next to the greens. Give me a separate dish. And another thing, I do not eat leftovers. I don't want them. You can have them. It's something about it that just doesn't work for me. So those are just two of my kitchen confessions. I gotta lie.
Now we are about to prepare German chocolate cake. Not only is it something that my soror Shequitta likes, Judge Kelly likes, but it's also my mom's favorite cake. I made it for her every single year on her birthday. So this is really special to me as well, Shequitta, so I hope you like it. All right, because I did send her some in the mail. So we're gonna get started making this up. And I am doing 2 sticks of butter here. And we're gonna do 2 cups of sugar. Okay, you're gonna hear my microwave go off in a minute, so don't worry. We're doing 2 cups of sugar, 2 sticks of butter. Give this a good mix until you cream your butter and it's nice and creamy. We're gonna add in some vanilla and we're gonna add in our eggs. We're actually using egg yolk only. We're gonna beat the egg white, you'll see, and add the egg white in at the end. Okay, so kind of a little different way of making a cake with this process, okay? So we're gonna put a little vanilla, and I don't measure vanilla because it's like love. You just pour as much as you think feels good. Just a little extra right there, okay? So mix that vanilla in. I have my hot water boiling in the back. So you might hear, yep, see, microwave went off. We're gonna grab our hot water because we need boiling hot water. So we need a half cup of boiling hot water. So that's exactly what I have. I'm going to take my chocolate and get it in here so it can start melting, okay? So I'm getting my chocolate in here so it'll start melting. Break it into pieces. I'm gonna let it start melting and then I'll give it a turn here in a moment with my spoon, but we're gonna at least let it start melting. So I'll put that over to the side, let it start melting. Okay, so as we're mixing this in, what we're going to do next is we are going to crack our eggs. We're going to put the egg yolks in here. We're going to put the egg whites in here, okay? So egg whites in my cup here, as well as an eggshell right there. We don't want that eggshell. And then I'm going to keep doing this. So what you're doing is you're separating the egg, and then you're actually going to beat the egg whites, and you're going to add the egg whites into your cake at the end. You're going to actually fold them in. And the reason why you do that, it just helps to give an extra layer of fluffiness with this German chocolate cake. That's one of the things I love about the German chocolate cake. Now, I also have a little secret trick I learned, which I'll share in just a moment about the German chocolate cake. Okay, so we'll put that to the side. We are going to mix this in until it gets nice and creamy. Yes, that is looking good. We have our vanilla, we have our sugar, we have our butter. Yes, because butter makes it better. All right, so that is good. Mixing that together. Now I am going to grab my chocolate and get that chocolate nice and melted. And it is almost there. So I'm gonna keep stirring a little bit here until it gets nice and melted, and I'm gonna add it into my dish. Okay, that looks like it's good and melted. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pour this into my butter. Yum, yum, yum. And we are going to mix it in. So I used a half cup of boiling hot water, and I used the Baker's German chocolate, okay? So we're mixing that in. And the recipe, of course, we will share with you, so have no fear. And we're gonna just mix it until it's nicely combined. Now, some people will just make chocolate cake and call it German chocolate cake. There is actually a difference, okay? So German chocolate cake is made with the baker's German chocolate, which is actually a more milder chocolate. So basically it's like it's a little sweeter than a semi-sweet chocolate. So semi-sweet chocolate has more cocoa. Dark chocolate has even more cocoa. So the baker's German chocolate bar has even less cocoa than the semi-sweet. So it's going to be a little bit sweeter of a cake. So do not jip yourself and just make a chocolate cake, because that is not German chocolate cake, okay, you guys? Do not do that to yourself. All right. So we're going to mix our dry ingredients. We need 2 cups of flour. I like to do what I call the spooning method, where I spoon my flour into here. I am using an all-purpose gluten-free flour. And you can choose whichever one you like, your favorite flour blend. I actually have my own blend. It's going to be coming to a store near you. Check it out. Okay, so the reason why I scoop is because it actually measures your flour more accurately, because when you just dig in there, sometimes people get like a really compact scoop. Some people give like a lighter scoop. So if you just kind of dust it in there like this, and then I just kind of wipe it off, that way I have a nice even 1 cup. Okay, so I have 2 cups of that. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in here. I need about a teaspoon of salt. So next I need a teaspoon of baking soda. Now the baking soda is what's traditionally in here. I also add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. I like to say powder gives it the power, especially in gluten-free, because gluten-free needs a little help with the rising. So I'm adding in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now, if you're using regular flour, you really don't need the baking powder. You can go ahead and remove that. All right, so next up, I need to get a spoon. And I'm going to mix this together really well. So I'm mixing together my dry ingredients now. Got it all mixed up here. And I'm going to add my dry ingredients into my wet ingredients, okay? I'm going to dump it on in there. Now, when you're doing traditional, usually you do a little bit of flour, a little bit of milk, a little bit of flour. When I do gluten-free, I find personally it's best to mix all my flour together, then add my liquid, which is buttermilk, at the end. That's just me, okay? So that's why I'm doing it this way, because you might say, that's not the way my mama do it. Might not be, okay, but I'm somebody else's mama. All right, one of the things I also need to add, this is the secret ingredient. So my aunt Ida, I love her, she's in heaven with my mom, but she made the best German chocolate. First of all, she made the best everything, okay? Everything she made tastes good. However, her German chocolate cake, she told me her little secret. I'm gonna tell y'all. Anyway, she added some dark cocoa powder, just a tablespoon. And that just gives it a little extra chocolatiness and kick. So we're gonna mix that in. And we're going to stir this together until it's well combined. Then I'm going to add my liquid at the end. Again, when I'm doing gluten-free, that's the way I like to do it. However, I know traditionally it's a little bit of liquid, a little bit of flour, a little bit of liquid, a little bit of flour. So you can do it that way if you want to. That is totally fine, because guess what? You in your kitchen, you can do it however you want, okay? Because I'm not there watching you, all right? And if somebody is watching you, you tell them to go find something else to do, okay? Okay, all right, so this is well combined. Yum, yum, yum. Now we're gonna add in 1 cup of buttermilk. All right, I'm shaking my buttermilk, because sometimes it does kind of, separate or whatever. So I'm shaking it up, give it a little shake, and do 1 cup. So I'm going to pour 1 cup of buttermilk in here. Yes, that looks delicious. Okay, so we're going to mix it in. And then our last step is we are going to add in our egg whites, but we have to beat them first, okay? So we're gonna beat our egg whites, and then we're gonna fold them into our batter, all right? And you don't want to mix them in, you wanna fold them in, because the whipped egg whites actually help to create more air, right? More lift in your cake. So you don't want to mix it in. You want to fold it in. And I'll show you what folding it in means in just a moment. Okay? So this looks yummy. Oh my gosh. So good. Okay. All right, that looks good. Now we're going to work on our egg whites. Okay, we're going to take our egg whites. They're in this bowl. I am going to whip this by hand. Yes, okay? Because I like to do it just because it's a fun challenge for me and I help get my guns. I'm not showing you my guns right now, but I might pull them out at the end so you can see what they look like. But trust me, I got some guns. So I'm going to whip this by hand. Sometimes I might put this a tiny bit, just a tiny bit of cream of tartar, which kind of helps to create the stiffness. All right. So when we get back, we're going to mix it all. We're going to fold it all together. Now, if you want, you can put this on your mixer and you can use a whisk, you know, the whisk attachment on your mixer. Or you can use a hand mixer. But me, I like to beat it, beat it. All you got to do is beat it. Okay, we gonna beat it, baby. We gonna beat it like it stole something. We gonna beat it, beat it. All we got to do is beat it. Look at that. Look at that. It's almost there. You want to beat it until it's a stiff peak. And see, that didn't even take me that long. Now, my grandmother did everything by hand, honey, okay? She wasn't using that mixer, baby. She was using this good old hand, all right? That good old arm. Beat it, beat it, beat it. Okay. Now we are ready to fold in our egg whites. So, we got them nice and stiff. And I did it by hand. Okay, that's how you get your workout in so you can earn this cupcake. Now, you can do cupcakes or you can do cake. I am making cupcakes, and that's because I am sending my girl, Miss Shequitta, the judge, I am sending her some cupcakes in the jar. So I'm folding this in. I'm not whipping it in, I'm folding it in. And it's okay if you can still see little pieces or something like that. It's okay. Do not fret. It's okay. All right? It's all under control here, right? What they say, keep calm. Keep calm and keep folding it in. Okay? Fold it in, fold it in. Don't ever use the mix or anything else to do this. That looks fabulous. It's good. Okay, so let's get busy. We're gonna scoop and get these in the oven. Okay? Now, I got my liners in here, and yes, I do have a big mama pan, okay? So this makes 24, so I can probably get all of my batter in here. So I'm gonna start scooping, get these in the oven, and when we come back, baby, I'm gonna show you how to make this icing. Now I make my icing a little bit different too, so you're gonna see how I make it. Because, you know, we can't just follow the recipe exactly on the back of the box. What fun is that? Now we are back, ready to make our frosting. We are making a coconut pecan frosting. Now, I do not follow the back of the box. Like I said, I like to make my own adjustments. So we are going to go ahead and put our condensed milk in here. And then we are going to add in some butter. Okay, so we're gonna get that condensed milk in here and we're gonna melt some butter all together. All right, so let's get this going. Yes. All right, I got it on medium-high heat. I'm cutting up my butter just because it makes it a little bit easier. So I did 1 cup of condensed milk. I mean, not 1 cup, sorry, 1 can of condensed milk. And then I am doing 3/4 cup, which is basically 1 1/2 stick of butter. All right, so I'm going to add in a little bit of salt because we got to give it a little bit of, balance there with all that sugar. And we're going to mix this together literally until our butter melts. And once our butter melts, we're going to add in the rest of the ingredients. While our butter is melting, we'll go ahead and get working on our eggs. Okay? So for our eggs, we're going to use the egg yolk only. So I am going to put my egg whites and my egg shells in this container. Okay? So we want egg yolk only. So 1. And if you want, you can save your egg whites. So if you like to use egg whites for breakfast, things like that, feel free to save it. Some people compote. There's all types of things you can do with your egg whites. So feel free to save those if you like to save them. And you can also compote your eggshells as well. Okay? So now we have this. I'm just going to mix it together and we're going to add it in when it's time. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to learn to temper it actually. Okay, so I'm getting it in there. It's getting nice and melted. I'm going to add in 3/4 cups of sugar. So I'm putting a little less sugar in than what the traditional recipe because I'm using condensed milk, and condensed milk has a lot of sugar in it already, unlike evaporated milk. So we're using condensed milk. I'm going to turn my heat down some. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start tempering my eggs. So I'm going to take a little bit of this mixture. I'm going to pour it into my eggs to start tempering my eggs. This is basically warming up your eggs. That's what you're doing. You're warming your eggs up. So you're basically putting that mixture in there to warm up your eggs. So we're getting these eggs warmed because what happens when eggs get hot? They scramble. And we don't want scrambled eggs in our dish. So what we do is you temper it. So you put just a little bit at a time until you have to warm up your eggs. And then now what we can do is we can gradually add our eggs in here. And as we add them in, we just do a little bit at a time and we mix it really well so that our eggs do not scramble because we do not want scrambled eggs, okay? So I'm just going to keep mixing just a little bit at a time. Again, this is tempering so that we do not scramble our eggs. Now that our eggs are completely mixed in, that looks really good, we're gonna let this cook until it starts to thicken. So we're gonna let it cook for about 8 minutes. Now I've taken it off of the heat. I'm going to add in my coconut, 7 ounces of coconut. I'm going to add in about 1.5 cups of chopped pecans. Okay. Going to mix that together, and then we're going to add in our vanilla because vanilla, baby, it makes it taste better. So we're going to put that vanilla up in there. It's going to be good. Okay. We add that vanilla in last. Okay. We're gonna give it a taste, try, make sure it tastes good. And then we're just gonna wait until our cupcakes are done and completely cooled. We're gonna frost them puppies. It's going to taste so delicious.
Our cupcakes are ready and our frosting. Okay. So before we get into this, we are going to listen to a viewer's sweet life moment. Remember, we would love for you to share your sweet life moment. So if there is something that you heard on one of the shows or something you've seen on one of my reels or anything like that that has inspired you or motivated you or anything that has touched you in any way, we want to hear about your sweet life moment. So please, please, please comment down below and we will send you information to send in your sweet life moment.
But for now, we are going to listen to this person's sweet life moment.
I'm declaring this as our first healing circle because even though we were fellowshipping and enjoying and celebrating life of Nikki's mom, life of her, making another circle around the sun, we were healed in just our laughter and our time together and painting. A couple of nuggets from Nikki, hell no or hell yes. No in between. For those of us who are overworked and overwhelmed, either hell yes or hell no. And then another nugget, just show up. We're so committed to doing so many different things, and we're perfectionists, but sometimes it's just about showing up and learning to show up for ourselves first. Of course, we want to show up for our children, our husbands, our spouses, our jobs, our organizations, but it's even more important to show up for ourselves. Without that, we can't show up for anybody else. So, love to Nikki and the sweet life.
Now it is time to frost these cupcakes. I have 2 already frosted, and we are going to frost 2 more. So I have my little scooper here, and you can use a spoon if you want, but I like to scoop on my frosting. So it's a nice little ball there. Now what I did is I made chocolate ganache. So it's super simple. All I did was it's a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts chocolate, 1 part cream. So you can use heavy cream or heavy whipping cream. And basically I used about a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream. So that means 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. I just used semi-sweet chocolate chips and a 1/2 cup of heavy cream. So super simple. That's all you have to do. Now, once you do that, you basically warm your heavy cream. Then you add in, once it's hot, you don't want it to be boiling, just hot. Once it's hot, not boiling, then you add in your semi-sweet chocolate chips. Remember, it's a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 part chocolate chips, 1 part heavy cream. The recipe is going to be down below, don't worry. Once you get that cream hot, you put that chocolate in there, let that chocolate sit in your cream for at least 2 minutes undisturbed. Don't touch it. Once it's been 2 minutes, set your timer. Tell Alexa, tell somebody, tell Siri, whoever you got. Then you're going to mix it together until it starts to get nice and creamy and smooth. This is super simple. You can add other stuff like butter in there. You can add a little bit of corn syrup to make it shiny. People do all types of stuff with their chocolate ganache, but this is the most simplest recipe for chocolate ganache. And you can use it on so much stuff. So I just like to drizzle some over top of my cupcakes to make them look pretty. So I'm just gonna go and drizzle some over top. Now, if you don't want any chocolate over your cupcake, you just want it like it is, then that's fine. Now, the longer you wait for your ganache to cool, the thicker it'll get. So it won't be so runny like it is right now. So if you want to wait or put it in the refrigerator and then go back to where the ganache is thicker and it's not like loosey-goosey like this, you can do that too, okay? So now the best part of this is I get to taste it. Now listen, I wish you could taste it with me. Actually, you can. You can make it at home and then you can taste it, okay? All right, now look at that. Gonna look good, nice and moist. Oh, moist, delicious. Good. My mom will be proud. Okay, I gotta stop. I gotta keep this girl's figure. But listen, thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy listening to Shequitta. She is truly a woman of power, of strength, someone who basically turned her pain into power, someone who was able to have the wisdom and the foresight to know that she could have a better life than what even some people even imagine, maybe even herself, right? So take her story as a lesson that whatever you're going through right now, you too can overcome. Or even if you're on the other side of it, how can you help somebody else get to where you are? Right? Because that's what life is all about. We are community. We are working together, helping to support each other. All right? I want you all, honey, to have a sweet week, okay? Because around here, we are living the what? Living the sweet life.
Living the sweet life.